Is my hair close to Steve's yet? It's getting there. So Stranger Things is a new show on Netflix that premiered about a month ago, and the show is a throwback to old 80s stuff like Back to the Future, Stephen King, E.T., and the plot of the show is about a bunch of different things, but the main plot is there's this 4 kids. One of the kids, his name's Will, he goes missing, and the whole town's trying to find him. The sheriff is partnering with his slightly insane mom. They're trying to figure out where he went. All the while, a bunch of other strange stuff is happening around the town, and part of it is the other boys, they find this girl named 11, and 11 can do some weird stuff, so they're kind of like, what? Who's 11? Where did Will go? And obviously, being an 8-episode show, there's a lot more to it, but keeping it vague. So I'd heard this show's endless praises from the second the show came out. Took me a little while to get into it because I don't really watch a whole lot of TV shows. Daredevil is still on my list. Gotta finish Daredevil. And yeah, I'm talking about Daredevil season 1, so season 2 might be on hold for a little while. Although that Defenders trailer that came out looked pretty sweet, so I gotta watch that soon. But I figured, okay, I'll watch the first episode. It's only an hour long. Let's just see what all this hype is about. That hype was pretty freaking well deserved because this show is awesome. There's so much to like about the show. There is a huge cast in the show. Everybody came to play. The kids in the show actually act like kids. They say stuff that kids would say. They don't say things that like a scriptwriter in Hollywood thinks kids would say. These felt like real actual kids, and all of the kids were really good actors. And the girl playing 11, a lot of the emotional weight of this show rests on 11's shoulders, and 11 does a great job at carrying that. You can tell things have happened to her in her past. They kind of delve into it a little bit of the experiments that were done on her, and because of that, she's cursed with these weird powers, and also she's just not completely right in the head. It's a subtle performance, but it's really well done. And the other person that a lot of the emotional weight of the show lands on would be Winona Ryder's character, who plays Will's mom, the kid that disappeared. And it's kind of like this. Everyone in the show is great, right? Even in a thing where everybody is great, there is going to be the one where you're like, that is my least favorite. And Winona Ryder, she is really good in the show. There are a couple moments where she does kind of overcook it. Like I was saying earlier, her character is not completely right in the head. She's doing a lot of this weird stuff, trying to communicate with her son who's in like a spirit realm. She's writing stuff on the wall, hanging up these weird Christmas lights. Everyone, including her older son, thinks that she's insane. And so her acting does make sense, but the character does feel a little too Jonathan, Will. Oh, there's a couple times where I'm just like, okay, just calm down a tad. So it's a weird thing because the character would act like that in the show, but it still just feels a tad over the top. Does that make sense? It does to me. I'll tell you my favorite character in the show though, Hopper, the cop. Hopper's the chief of the town. He's not used to a lot of big things happening, and he likes it that way. He likes living in a small town, but when duty calls, he steps up, and he really partners with Winona Ryder to try to find Will, and they give some reasons for why he is so invested in this case. But the guy kind of reminded me of Chief Brody from Jaws. He's not used to big things happening, but when it does, he will rise to the occasion. And like I was saying earlier, the show just feels like an 80s movie. It's so good. There's bits of John Hughes in there, bits of Steven Spielberg, bits of Stephen King. A couple of moments in the show, I was actually a little spooked, which is good. It was kind of like E.T. I feel like if kids today see E.T., there's going to be some stuff in there that's going to creep them out. A movie that came out recently that did that, Kubo and the Two Strings, check that out. Check out my review for that. It's a great movie. Shameless plug. But no, it was a good scare. The show is not specifically a horror show. It's really hard to peg down what kind of show this is. It really is just an 80s show. Because it's got bits of comedy, bits of adventure, bits of horror, bits of action. There's even this one subplot with Mike, the main kid in the show. His sister Nancy is dating this one guy. And you're just thinking, okay, this is going to be some throwaway arc to add some fluff to the first couple episodes. But once that gets shaved off and the boyfriend inevitably dies, then we can just move on with the rest of the show. But no, that plot actually feeds into the whole disappearance of Will. Again, every single plot in this show felt important. Everything came to play. The show just does what those old 80s things did so well, and they just make you feel like a kid again. Like the other 3 kids in the show, Mike, Dustin, and Lucas, they're just like the kids from E.T. They're on their bikes, solving their adventures, using their walkie-talkies, sneaking out late at night. Or they're like the Goonies. They're like the kids in the Goonies too. And it just gives you that feeling of like, yeah, adventure. Adventure that's set in a small town city. You don't always have to be looking for the lost ark to have an adventure. The show kind of felt like a longer version of the movie Super 8. The movie is set in the 80s. It feels like an 80s movie, but it has the effects and the budget of a modern day movie. You can just tell by watching it, a lot of love and passion for those movies and those TV shows really went into this show. I only have one issue with this show, and it deals with the very last episode. Basically, they add in this mini subplot to better flesh out one of the characters, and in theory, it's a good subplot, but just the execution of it, I don't feel like the whole thing should have been crammed into the last episode. And they do drop hints at that subplot in previous episodes, but the last episode is where they do all the flashbacks and really dive into the meat of that story. I feel like those flashbacks could have been spread out across maybe episodes 5, 6, and 7, and a little bit in episode 8. That way you can really focus on giving the characters that we've grown to know and love a really solid conclusion. And I'm not saying the last episode is bad, because it is great, and the characters do have a good conclusion. I just wish that subplot was spread out a little bit more. Also, that way we can be more emotionally connected to that plot, So by the end of it, it's not just all this information thrown at you at the very end. Overall, Stranger Things is one of my favorite TV shows. We're only one season in, but I'm loving it. I want to see where they go with the season 2, but I also think like a lot of those 80s movies like E.T., they didn't have sequels. And that was part of the magic of it. It was set at one point in time. So maybe they could go True Detective style where the second season is completely new characters. But then again, I also want to see these characters back. So it's a no-end situation. But I'm hooked for a season 2. Season 1 was great. And if you haven't checked it out and you have Netflix, you have no reason not to watch this show. Check it out. It's the best thing on Netflix right now. So who is your favorite character in Stranger Things? If you've seen the show, comment down below. Let me know who that is. And like I said earlier, Hopper. Love that dude. But in any case, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you can click subscribe, check out some of my other stuff, and I'll catch you guys next time.